Are you being something, or is something being you? How do you be somebody, and who do you want to be? Welcome to Don't Believe the Hype.
Don't believe the hype.
Welcome to Don't Believe the Hype, the channel where we attempt to demystify some of the hypes around the lesser known truths of ourselves, our world, and the universe. This time, we're going to explore what's the being part of a human being. Have you ever wondered what the being part of a human being is? Why we have that name? We don't call other beings or other creatures bird beings or elephant beings or dolphin beings, yet we do label ourselves human beings. So, before we get into this, there's something that we need to set the scene with that really does let us explore ourselves, our reality, and the universe at work. Enjoy. Everything in this world is made of energy. Everything we see, and even what we don't see, is energy. Energy vibrating and vibrating at different frequencies. This means that being is a frequency, and that frequency is a state of mind. Unlike animals that are very much living in the present moment in their state of mind, we are able to perceive the past, present, and future, and we measure time, which puts a completely different spin on our state of being and our ability to create a state of being. Thinking back to memories of a holiday, special occasion, or happy event, or even to an argument or where something frightening or sad happened to us. These moments shift your very being because of the way these memories or imagined moments make us think and feel. Even thinking forward to your next holiday or next potential difficult moment will shift your being in that very moment. This is because they all have an energy and a frequency to them, which include a sort of emotional residue. So you could say, as human beings, we have the ability to shift our energy and frequency through time by who we are being in the present moment. So what makes up our thinking and feeling, our state of mind or frequency, and where does it come from? It comes from the subconscious mind and the programs that run within it that we cannot see. It contains our emotions, our beliefs, our imagination, our intuition, our fears, our values, our long-term memory, our self-image, but it also controls all the bodily functions within our body. The subconscious mind controls 95 to 97% of our everyday lives, and it is separate from our conscious thinking mind, which is the remaining 5 to 3%. So many of the programs that run the subconscious, and therefore the way we think, act and feel, are programmed into us by ourselves, but also unwittingly we allow the outside world to program us with what we are believing. Ever wondered why the world can look so chaotic and so many crazy things are going on? It's largely because we're acting out of what has been programmed into us unknowingly. And remaining in this state means that we give our physical thinking mind, or what you could call the ego, more credit than it's due. The ego is obviously living in that 3 to 5% of the brain, of the conscious physical mind. In comparison, by size, for example, if you said that your brain was the size of a huge melon, it's only the size of a pea that we interact with, that we almost let run our whole lives, while these other programs are completely actually running our lives in an unseen way. What I mean by running our lives is they have the ability to control or operate how we are thinking, feeling, and acting, therefore changing our very state of being. This is what creates what you could call unconscious activity, that we are unconsciously living our lives through these subconscious programs that we're not even aware of. And so if we aren't conscious of that little P being focused in autopilot from the subconscious programs, it could control the whole show, all of our reality, and leave us often in a state of constant reaction, criticism, and judgment. This state of being leaves us feeling like we are at the mercy of everything outside of us, that we are powerless. And at that core, we vibrate fear into our reality, which I'm sure if you've been there, if you're worried about something no end, then eventually it shows up in your experience. So you're going to get what you put out. Your frequency or vibration or your state of being literally creates and manifests your reality, which has been seeded by our intention and attention, our thoughts and emotions. Think of it like this, that your thoughts are electrical and your emotions are magnetic. So your thoughts carry the electrical information of who and what, and your emotions carry the magnetic wave of how and where. And the combined why of the who, what, where and how is our being, our state of being. It is who we are individually. You could say this is why we don't always get what we want, but we get more of what we are, or you get more of who you are being or are in resonance with. And one way to know what you are in resonance with is synchronicities. Have you ever experienced synchronicities? Those moments when you consciously recognize that someone or something you've been thinking about or looking for or expecting just turns up. Or maybe you're down the shops and that thing you've been thinking about that's been bouncing around in your head, you hear random people talking about that very subject or even answering that question that you were thinking about. Sometimes it may show up as repeating numbers or repeating images that you seem to pick up on, realizing that the same thing keeps turning up in your experience. It could even be that when you are focused in a particular way without even realizing, that things just time up perfectly or surprise you with how well they time up, or that you bump into someone in a very seemingly random way. Well, this is the universe's way of showing you more of yourself, or showing you that there is something hidden at work in our everyday lives. It can be like a trail of breadcrumbs leading us towards realizing that our reality is in fact a two-way street of feeding the universe or sending out what we are thinking and feeling about, and it reflecting it back to us in our physical reality. It can ultimately be the breadcrumb trail of leading you towards your own desires and to realizing your own full potential. Synchronicities happen to remind us who we are being and what we are giving our energies and attention to, so that we have the opportunity to align with what we want to be. This is why many people are starting to become aware of knowledge and understanding around the laws of attraction, the law of assumption, the mirror principle, and these teachings help unlock the door in being able to perceive and see more synchronicities and take the appropriate inspired actions to start to be who they are. And if positively focused, receive more of what they want in life or what they prefer and enjoy. And the more you experience synchronicities or so-called coincidences, the more you realize that there is no such thing as coincidences. The key to increasing synchronicity, or to at least starting to change your being, starting to change how you're thinking and feeling, is to work towards removing those flinching reactions that have been programmed into you subconsciously. Trying to catch yourself when you get triggered by something just by simply being aware that you're being triggered. Overthinking or repeating something negative in your mind that happened to you, or something someone said that was unpleasant, is only going to give it momentum and reinforce those unconscious biases from your subconscious programs. So it's about learning to let go, to not identify with those things. They're not a part of you. It's just someone else's point of view. Recognize you are starting to respond in being who you are and not reacting from wanting to fight fire with fire. Because channeling anger and hate towards anything in your mind is going to bring hateful and angering things into your experience. A very wise teacher once said, an extremely powerful mantra that has really helped me. It's a 2-word mantra if anything really triggers you. So what? It doesn't matter what other people think or what other people evaluate you as. You know yourself, and no one knows you better than yourself. No one can tell you who you are other than yourself, and knowing it within your own being. When you get triggered, imagine like it's taking a photograph. Take a photo, it's not actually through your eyes, you're just stepping back out of it. Almost like when you're going to take a photo of someone, you just step back and further back. Do not identify yourself with those things that you do not like, or that you do not prefer, or that just don't make sense to you. It's not always as straightforward as that, because there are always going to be things that happen that are a challenge or that you don't prefer. So you don't necessarily even have to accept these things, even though that may help, but learning to allow them to be will remove that identification and that vibration that it keeps within you and in your experience. Remember, you know your self-worth, and you're always worthy of what you are seeking or what you think you deserve. So becoming aware of those reactions, those reactions, we are reacting those subconscious programs, and turn it into responding with your response ability that you have, your responsibility. And by doing this, you are starting to quell the ego mind, which isn't always a bad thing, but it does live in separation, which means many, if not all, of the projections it creates in the mind are illusions. So by taking your responsibility, or your ability to respond, to the next level, is going to change your output in who you are being. And naturally, as you manifest, the physical world will have to catch up with what you're putting out and fill that gap with the experiences and situations that you desire in order to become who you feel you want to be or who you should be. And if you're still asking yourself, who am I? Then look inside yourself, follow your passions. What are your talents? What are your traits? What are your skills and abilities? We all have them. No one is exempt. Find those passions and follow them, and you will soon find yourself on the right path, synchronously being guided and led along, so long as you have the awareness and your eyes open to see it and believe it. Those hidden subconscious programs cluttering up your mind will then have a chance to reorganize and dissolve those negative reinforcements that help clear space for you to recalibrate and reprogram in who and what you really are meant to be like. You can start acting more organically from who you are by responding better rather than just reacting to things. I've found personally not identifying with situations as being negative, but just that they are, and neutrally observing them and just allowing them to happen, and then use my own intuition to find my flow again, whether it's in that moment, 5-10 minutes later, or maybe in the evening of that same day, as some things can sometimes jar us more than we even realize. So it is always a learning and a lesson about yourself and what's being reflected to you, essentially. And doing this has helped me stay on my path of my highest unfolding, backed by synchronicities, because to be who you are is to stay in alignment of working towards thinking, feeling and acting the way you want to be, or setting the example of who you want to be to yourself. And this is a sure way of becoming in resonance with your own being, and the universe cannot help but bend reality towards who you are being and let you receive more of who you are being, which, if you stay on track, will be more of what you want and even what you desire, because it will be more of who you really are. So in 2020, I had a realization, a revelation, that what I had imagined possible for myself, what I had thought I was capable of, had actually come into fruition. It had actually become my experience, and now a beautiful past memory for me. And this was completely down to who I was being and how I was being and how I chose to respond to things in the world. And it led me to be able to realize myself working for a company that I'd always looked up to. And it had come to me through companies calling me and getting me the interview. It had come to me being asked to go and work and live in Dubai. And for a long time when I was younger, I had a desktop background of a city, a fantastic, futuristic looking city. I didn't even know where it was or what it was. And it wasn't a little while after I'd moved there, I realized that that desktop background was looking at the buildings that I would now look out of my own window with and was in my neighborhood. I realized that dreams that I had envisioned and had many times as a young boy, seeing alpine mountain roads and this beautiful setting in the mountains, being driven up roads, came to pass when I was on holiday in Sri Lanka, the exact imagery. And also that when I was 15, I went to Hong Kong, was fortunate enough to stay with a close friend there for 3 weeks, and it changed my life to be able to see how people were living on the other side of the world. And I ended up living in Hong Kong for 3 years. And on top of that, I've always been a big Formula One fan and never really wanted to work in Formula One because you're traveling around the world all the time. But I always thought what a cool thing it would be to at least work in it somehow. It ended up that I was the operations manager for the Singapore Formula One Grand Prix for 4 years, particularly Singapore as well, a race that I remember watching the first time thinking, wow, look at that incredible city on the other side of the world. I wonder if I'll ever get to see what that's actually like. So with all of these, I never actually chased it. It literally fell into my lap. Don't get me wrong, I had to work quite hard for it, but only responding by being who I am, who I was being. And this is not unique to me whatsoever. I am not special. Anybody can do this. Everybody can do this. It is the true nature of our reality in the world that we live in. So it is something that is available to everyone, but it's not available for everyone. It's not for everybody to be able to really focus in and try and become who you imagine yourself to be, to actually become who you are destined to be, who you should be. So show up every day and don't believe the haters and don't believe the hype. And having had some of these experiences, I'm very grateful to be able to share with you some of the ways that you're able to do this for yourself. But this time round, rather than it being unconscious and it just happening, this time round it's going to be conscious, so that you're aware of how you're going about things, and you will see that those things will come into your life experience. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the content and the message it was trying to give. Of course, these views are only reflected through my understandings and what I've come to understand through my own experience. So I'd love to hear your own experiences in the comments, And if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like. It would really help me and help others see this video who need to hear the message. Until next time, stay in love, stay in light, and don't believe the hype.